Sully, and as always, welcome to the Gun Club. Alrighty. Tonight we're going to have a little bit of a lighter stream. I know sometimes we cover some pretty dark topics and we deal with some pretty heavy issues on here. And honestly, I'll apologize for the days we have our dark topics and our heavy topics. And I'd like it to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more humorous. Sometimes I don't notice when I'm getting into a lot of dark stuff because, quite frankly, I did a lot of years as a paramedic, and so therefore we deal with this dark stuff, and we deal with it a lot of times on a day-to-day basis. We don't notice it as much. We're not really as aware of it. But when you talk to a normie on the outside and they're giving you sort of a heads up that, dude, your last couple of streams have been kind of downers. You need to have a little bit more fun. Okay. And they know me outside of work and outside of the professional setting, and they're like, have a little more fun when you're online. Have a little bit more fun with the channel and the contents and stuff. And that's fair. That's a very, very, very fair criticism, and I'm definitely taking it to heart. And so we're going to have a little bit of a lighter stream today. We had a few incidents I could have covered, but not really going to be doing any of that today. Going to be talking a little bit about New Year's and New Year's resolutions. Now, you look at New Year's resolutions, these date back to like 2000 plus BC, way back when. You can look at like the Babylonians. They were doing New Year's resolutions. Now, when they were doing it, a lot of times it was a time to sort of look at what they had done over the past year and look at how things have been going for them and what they did right, what they did wrong, and what they could do better in the next year. Looking forward, new starts, things that they could improve on, whether it was returning farming implements to their neighbors, paying their debts, doing better their crops, whatever the case may be. It was a very agricultural society, so kind of makes sense. A lot of their resolutions would center around that. But looking at their lessons learned over the last year or so and trying to have a better next year. Cool. So I think we're going to sort of center on that kind of mentality for tonight. Looking back, when we look back at 2023, how did things go for us in the 2A community as a whole? Honestly, overall, I think we did pretty well. We did some stuff that was kind of, unimaginable some time ago. Let's look at the big picture. Now, I know we've had our little hiccups here and there, but we've got 27 states out of 50 that have constitutional carry. That's the majority of states in this country. So rock on with that. I can definitely deal with that. That's a big one for us. 27 states doing constitutional carry. We all know where I'm, sit on that. I think it's great that they're making it easier for us to exercise what is our Second Amendment right, keeping and bearing arms. Simple statement. Beyond that, we had a very, very big Supreme Court win, SCOTUS win, in the Bruen decision, New York Rifle and Pistol v. Bruen, where they basically defined a lot in the Supreme Court of how future gun laws and gun laws currently were going to be looked at and compared to determine their constitutionality and whether they'd be kept or thrown out, kicked out of the way. So that was, I think, a very, very big win. I mean, that's right up there with Heller as far as Supreme Court decisions, as far as our ability to keep and bear arms. And it's going to be a significant stumbling block for the anti-gunners in the years to come. So we will take that one, a big win for 2023. What else happened in 2023? Well, we went through the pistol brace battle. Now, the pistol braces, I did 2 or 3 videos on them, different stages in them, and talked about what a pistol brace was and how the whole thing came to be, and the NFA and short-barreled rifles, and you can go back and look through all those. But the biggest thing, currently, the pistol braces battle is all but about over. I mean, it's not gone totally. The ATF still exists. They've not been defunded yet. And, I don't think we'll ever get them totally defunded. But they basically sort of got their hands slapped in that pistol brace battle, especially out of the 5th Circuit in Texas. And so our pistol brace battle, that was a win for us in the 2A community. Another big win, and this is something that you don't always see and you don't always know and aware of, we have more and more first-time gun owners joining the 2A community and starting to venture into the 2A community. Maybe, if you will, dipping their toe in the pond a little bit. Some of them, well, kind of new to it, and we're having to coach them along a little bit. Some of them have never had the oomph to step foot in a gun store before, never wanted to do it, never knew what was in that place over there that said gun shop outside. It was always that big, bad, scary place. Well, we're getting more and more dipping their toe in. We're getting more and more people coming, taking classes. My personal experience, I'm getting many, many first-time gun owners, new shooters, coming to me for training, talking to me about training and classes, etc. And some people who may not have shot for 10 years that are getting back involved in it. That, in my opinion, is great for the 2A community. This is what more people who are going to be voting, hopefully, along the lines that once they see that, hey, the 2A community is not what it's portrayed by the media to be. And we all know that we get a bad rep in the media. I don't think I have to tell anyone on this channel that. I mean, let's face it, that's why we're primarily on Rumble, although we are dual casting this one over to YouTube as well. But we're getting more people on the side of the 2A side. More people realizing that maybe they want to be their own first responder, or at least their own best defender. Maybe people starting to realize, possibly after the pandemic or anything else, that you can't always rely on law enforcement to get there in time. And when seconds count, 911 is minutes away. So that's a big win for our side, a big win for our community. You've got people, like a lot of people in here, me personally, I've been 2A guy for, 30 years. But when you've got some of the people who have been on the 2A side for 3 months, 4 months, and more going out, learning, taking lessons, taking classes, buying their first gun, possibly looking at getting their CWP, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We are now at a point where they said 52% of the country has a firearm in the house. It's the first time we've been over 50% in a while. We've always had, these people have guns, these people hate guns, and there's this group in the middle. That group in the middle is shifting onto our side. Again, why? Who knows? I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I really could care less. My thing is, I'm going to take a win for what it is. Now, I'll also be honest, and I'll say there's been a couple of negatives. We still have some of the anti-gun states pushing what we call the Bruin response laws. Once Bruin was passed, and the big one was, prior to the decision in Bruin, they said that a state may issue a permit if they choose to do so. Well, the fact that may issue is basically left it up to their discretion. You could jump through all the hoops in the world, and it was ultimately their choice whether or not your life or your family's safety was worthy. Well, Bruin had said, no, if they meet their requirements, shall issue, must issue, you will issue. So making all these states from maybe issue, and I'm thinking primarily of 3 off the top of my mind, which were New York, Maryland, and California, they were very, very, very hard, and Jersey as well, very, very hard to get a pistol permit or a carry permit or anything else because it was a may issue. Your rights you could exercise your rights if they decided you could. Now it's a shall issue, and the Supreme Court in Bruin decided that. That's the big core of that case. We've seen cases, more of them, go to the Supreme Court. Hopefully, they come out on our side. We can't have 100%, but we're doing pretty well. Now, some of these anti-gun states pushed out a bunch of Bruin response laws. Well, fine, we shall issue now, but we're going to put all these requirements and all these rules and all these restrictions on it and all this cost to it. Well, a lot of those have been thrown out too. Now, a few have survived, but generally, we're seeing more and more getting tossed out, and we're seeing the court system take our side in a few things, which is great. It's long overdue. Simple fact, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say you can only infringe on it a little bit. You can only infringe on it if you think it's a good idea. No, it says shall not be infringed, and I'm on board with that. Now, let's look at one step further. Some of the losses, well, the assault weapon ban is still in play right now, although we'll see how far it goes. It hasn't made it to the Supreme Court yet, and it may well have to get that far. They're still battling that out in court. In California, well, Governor Newsom, within days of the Bruin decision, had a bunch of anti-gun regs. One of the big ones is SB2, where they're trying to put restrictions. Yes, now they shall issue concealed carry permits, but you can't carry in a sensitive location. So they're trying to basically have the entire state declared one big sensitive location for one reason or another, including all public places, all libraries, all schools, all hospitals, all medical buildings, all theaters, all auditoriums, all, all everything basically. Basically, even a private business, they're saying that that's you're only allowed to carry there if the business specifically permits you to. Even though you've already passed the class, you've already done all the training, you've already gone all through the background checks, you have to get specific permission from the business. Crazy, I know. Now, that law is still in play at this point. It went into effect January 1st, but there is already a court battle going on, and it looks like it's got potential. So, again, if we can win that one, what's that going to do? It's going to help build up the 2A community some more. I think it was really wild. I was flipping through the other night, and I saw, they had a couple of messes. One was a mall in California where there were a bunch of 1,000-something kids who were trying to go in and raid the mall, and they had to call in all the PD and the LAPD and everything else to try to protect the mall. They had another mall where they had an active shooting, and it's like, okay, California's going off the chains, and we're trying to worry about whether or not a qualified law-abiding citizen can carry in the mall or not. Got news for you. The criminals are already doing it, for the love of God, But Cali's going to Cali. We know that. Come on. But overall, wins in a lot of areas. Now, looking forward, what can we do in 2024 to make 2024 another great year for the 2A community? Well, simple. It really depends on where we're at now. For the people out there who are interested, maybe curious about firearms, they've never done much with firearms, they may have shot their friend's gun 11 years ago or done something like that. Hey, reach out to your 2A friends if you know any, or if you have to, go visit a range. I promise you, the folks there don't bite. There's a lot of great ranges in every community. Go out, talk to them, especially, I'll tell you, some of the smaller mom and pop ranges. These people are there. They're running a business to serve the community. They are going to be great. They're going to help you out. They may have classes there. They may know of instructors if they don't host them there. They get asked about classes all the time. Maybe take a lesson, do something. Even if you don't buy a pew-pew, even if you don't decide to, throw your cold hard greenbacks on the counter and walk out locked and loaded, that's fine. That's cool. We get that. But learn more about it. Get to know some of the people in the 2A community. A lot of these ranges, especially the small ones, they've got an assortment of rental guns. You can try. You can learn about them. If nothing else, knowledge is power. If you're questioning it, at least have more information and make a more knowledgeable decision. Find out for yourself. Don't believe me. Don't believe anyone on the internet. Don't believe anything you read. Don't believe anyone on TV. Take the step. Find out for yourself. You never know. You may find out you like it. You may find out it's fun. You may end up with a closet full of them. Who knows? Now, let's say you went out at one point and you bought a gun, or you got a gun, or you picked one up along the way, or some friend got you a gun, or maybe it's a family member. It's you've got a brother or cousin or a dad or someone who's all 2A. And so he got you one, and it's sitting in the box. It may or may not have been fired much at all. You may have fired it when you first got it, but you haven't done anything with it. Think about it. You've got this wonderful tool that you could potentially use. I'm not saying you've got to carry it every day or go get a permit or do this, that, and the other, but go out, learn more about it. Go to the range. Now, if you think about it, how many times did you go to the range over the last year? If your goal is to go 3 more times more, 5 more times than you did last year. Now, if you didn't go at all last year, 3 or 4 times is easy. Go down, use it as a hobby, use it as a learning experience. Learn about this tool that's in your possession. If you don't have one, but you've been interested in it, go join a range, take a class or two. You know, I know a lot of people who have gotten a gun. I know people who have had it bought for them. I know people who have, one woman we had came to us whose husband had passed away and he had this gun. She told me very honestly, she walked in with it in a case, very polite, very nice. Said, I don't even know if it's loaded or how to tell if it's loaded. And we sat down and I said, that's fine, let's talk. And we went through, yes, it was loaded, made it safe, showed her how to use it, explained to her the controls. And then later she took a couple of classes with us and she finally got her concealed carry permit and she felt really good about herself. For her, it was an empowering experience because with her husband having passed away, she was older, now a fairly active older lady, but she was older. And her thing at that point was she felt vulnerable, living alone. She had always had someone there, and now she's alone. She's not sure. She's sort of wondering in the whole thing. And guess what? She's now on board, member of the 2A community and a concealed carry permit holder. Rock on. And she was also the oldest student I've ever had in one of my classes, and she did fantastic. So, yeah, it's never too old to teach your old great aunt a new trick or two with the firearm. How about the regular shooters? The people who I've been a member of a range, or I've got a couple of guns, I've got them around the house. I go to the range periodically. It's sort of a hobby. What have you done to expand our community? Introduce a new person or two. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to, introduce your blue pill neighbor from hell who never wants to talk about pew pews at all. No. But think about it. If you happen to be, talking about it at work, or you mention, hey, I went to the range, or someone's talking about something, say, well, if you ever want to go, I know some ranges around here. We can go. Some people, for them, walking into that weird place, that range, they won't do it unless they've got a little bit of, I'd say, moral support, so to speak. Some people need a little bit more support than others. We know that, but that's okay. We get them into the range, and before you know it, we get them a couple times with us, maybe on our visitor's pass or something else. Or guess what? They end up getting involved, and they end up liking it, and they become members of the 2A community. Also, remember, we were all new once. If you've got a newbie who does question something or wants training or is looking at getting a gun, be the person to say, look, why don't you come out, test drive a couple of mine, take a couple of these for a spin. We'll go to the range, see what you like, see what you don't like, and we can go from there, and I'll help you. Be the person who's the ambassador to our community. Also, represent our community well. And this is something, sometimes we are our own worst enemies in this stuff. We know this stuff is fun. We know this stuff is really cool. But if the first time somebody goes out and they've never shot a gun in their life before, and you break out the sawed-off 12 gauge with full slug loads, and they fire it a couple of times, and by the time their arm and their wrist is hurting, or it flies out of their hands, or you know what? If that's their first experience, do you think they're coming back? Do you think they've really gotten a good feeling for the 2A community? This is something they want to do? Have their buddies laugh at them because they don't know what they're doing? Nah, not really. What do? We go out and we say, okay, I'll teach you. If you want, depending on their strength and their comfort level, you can work from like a 22 LR, work all the way on up. Now, they may at some point say, hey, can I try that, 357 Magnum full bore 686? You can try it. So put 1 or 2 rounds in there. Say, hey, get a feel for it, see what you think of it. If after a couple they say, yeah, not fun, okay, fine. Not for everybody. I get it. They may not want to play with your 44 either. But teaching, working, educating, coaching these people, letting them know that they can go to these ranges. Because after you've brought them there a few times, they become more and more comfortable at these ranges. And when they do, guess what? They may even work up the courage to go on their own sometime. And what have we done? We've expanded our community. We've taught another person about what? Number one, being your own protector, being your own defender. If somebody has a question about a law or a policy or something else, try to explain it the best you can. Again, represent our community well. If you're talking about something about, let's say the castle doctrine, don't explain it as the make my day law that if some poor sucker breaks into your house, I get to shoot him. No. What it does say is that if somebody forcibly enters my house, it allows me, if I need to safely use deadly force if I deem it necessary, if I deem it reasonable. Now, I just said the same thing, and I said it two very different ways. We can all joke about the fact, yeah, I know, trespassers shot, survivors will be shot again. Now, that t-shirt is funny, it's cute, it's hilarious. I hope you don't have it posted on your social media if you ever go to court for a shooting, because it might not look too good for the home team. But also, what does that make the non-gun person, that person out there who may not be all into playing with pew-pews, think about us? I don't want to hang out with those guys. They're a bunch of homicidal maniacs. So what do we do? When you think about, the whole thing with pew-pews, we have fun with them. We enjoy it. It's whether it's sport or plinking or competition or just going out enjoying some camaraderie at the range. This is one of the few times that two guys can say, hey, I'll let you try mine if you let me try yours. Hey, it's fun. I enjoy, firearms. I enjoy working on firearms, tinkering with firearms. I enjoyed hanging around with a couple of buddies, coming back from the range. We picked up some stuff at the grocery store. One of the guys was grilling up a bunch of burgers while the rest of us were field stripping and starting cleaning. He came out, brought up lunch outside. We cleaned up a little bit. We all ate lunch, had a wonderful afternoon, reassembled all the guns, talked guns, looked at each other's guns. It was fun. It's a wonderful group activity. Sitting out on a back patio on a mountainside, especially if you've got a range in your backyard. Hey, you mind if I take that AR and take a few shots? No, that's fine. Hey, you mind if I try your M14? No, that's fine. We have fun with it. So it is what it is. But we need to be the people who introduce them. We need to be the people who build the community. So again, how well we represent the community means a lot. Really does. And when they're new, I'm not saying let them get away with safety stuff or safety issues, but come on, don't be a Mary Sue or don't be Itch Bay, a biatch, whatever you want to say. They may not always understand the fact of, where their finger's supposed to be, where their thumb's supposed to be. If you're teaching them and they don't know, you should be coaching them. Hey, watch that trigger finger. Come on, you can do it. But if you sit there and you go off on them and get your finger off the trigger, no, not good. And again, we also do that in our own community, and we all know we do it. And sometimes you'll even find people on the internet joking, deliberately posting pictures just to trigger certain people who want to rant about, get your booger hook off my bang switch. I get that. But again, is that welcoming to the outsider if they see us tearing each other down like that? Does that make them want to hang out with us more? God, imagine if you were learning to work on a car and somebody was just screaming at you the whole time you were doing it. Would that be an enjoyable afternoon? No. Sitting out working on each other's vehicles? Yeah. Guy stuff, crew stuff, not even just guys. I know plenty of girls who like working on cars. If we're all out working on each other's cars, if you're sitting there ranting and raving at somebody and telling them how stupid they are, guess what? They're not coming back to the community. Now I'm going to go one step further. For those of you all who are pros, who are instructors, maybe you work in a gun store, you work in a gun club, or, Maybe you just work selling guns, you're behind the counter somewhere. Expand, develop your knowledge base. We can all become set in our ways. We can all become the same thing. I feel it sometimes with me when I'm teaching. I may teach the same class 20, 30 times a year, but, sit back. What can I do to refine my slides? What can I do to, increase my passion for teaching, to come back to where it is again? Maybe I go take a class with a different instructor outside my circle of friends. Maybe I watch some videos online. Maybe I watch some videos. Nowadays there's a lot of great videos on there, depending on what groups you're a member of. There's a lot of great educational videos. Maybe you see something explained differently. You pick up something else. Maybe you realize the passion you first had when you came into the 2A community, because I know some instructors, some, not going to say all, there's such a demand that these instructors are wearing themselves out and they become broken records. There's no passion in their classroom. There's no joy in their classroom. No, they're in there and they're going through the motions and they're just trying to get through it. I've had instructors like that. I took a class with an instructor who literally, she was going through the motions. She was mentally toast. She flat out admitted it. She had been teaching a bunch of CWP classes and a bunch of other programs, and she was so toasty. She actually mentioned at the end of the month that she was going on vacation, and she was never so glad not to have any classes. I was like, great, thanks. Real positive environment there in that classroom. I can promise you on that one. But there's gazillions of classes nowadays. Look on, firearms classes. Maybe you go take a class on maintenance of an AR-15 if you've got ARs, if you're into long guns. Maybe you go take a class on how to clean a field strip a pistol. Maybe you look at one of your pistols and say, well, I wonder how it is to upgrade the sights on this. There's videos on YouTube that can teach you a lot. If you've got a couple of friends in the community, what mods do you want to do to things? And I'm not talking hard stuff. I'm talking maybe, swapping out a trigger assembly on something you've got and making it a little bit better, upgrading sights, putting fiber optics on, maybe putting a scope on something or an optic, working on our toys. We enjoy that. I know car folks always enjoyed working on and modifying their cars and, doing things like that. Gun folks are the same thing. Build that community, build that sense of community. If you've got a bunch of people around you, great. If you don't, hey, that's fine. All righty, take a break here. Who's in the chat? Okay, Daisy Girl, I see you in the chat. Anyone else? Who all do we got? I see we've got 6 on Rumble, got 2 on YouTube. Who we got coming in tonight? Anyone got to say hello? But yeah, as instructors, if you're toast, admit you're toast. Find a way to renew, refine your passion for teaching. Maybe it's backing off your class schedule a little bit. Maybe it's go listen to another instructor explain something. I can tell you, when I was teaching EMS and I taught a lot of hours a week in EMS and EMT classes, one of the things that was great fun for me was to go listen to other lectures. Now, sometimes I didn't really get a lot out of it or like what I heard. Sometimes, if you got the right person teaching, they're amazing, and you go back and man, I got so much new cool shit to share. I got so many new ideas. I need to really put that into my lecture, and it's a renewal for you. It's a rehab for you mentally. Let's face it, you may be one of the biggest things people see coming into the 2A community. Now, if you're not an instructor, you just work in a gun store, do you still have your passion for firearms? I mean, a lot of us, we love them, we play with them all the time and everything else. But if you've been dealing with it 40, 50 hours a week, especially if it's always the same looky-loos coming in and wanting to play with the same thing, you can get burned out. Find ways to refine your passion. Go look up something about a gun that's in your case or in your cabinet or something that seems to be selling or a new one coming out. Or look at what XYZ manufacturer is doing. For example, one of the things I've enjoyed is dealing with a lot of the new PSA or Palmetto State Armory stuff. I'm enjoying looking into a lot of the 5.7 by 28 ballistics. It's kind of cool. I've always been pretty much a 9mm or 45 guy in the semi-autos, 338 or 357 Magnum in the wheel gun, but looking into the 5.7 by 28, learning about the cartridge, the history of it, everything else, taking the PSA Rock, which y'all be seeing here in a couple of weeks, out to the range, playing with it, getting used to it, and learning about how you can have literally a 40 grain projectile as opposed to 114 or a 230 grain, and how the velocity works on it and all that stuff. Kind of cool. Kind of a nice little change of pace for me from everything's a 9 or a 45. What else can we do? Well, how about this? Let's talk about what we're going to do as a channel, what I want to do as a channel. I'll let you in on what my mentality is and where my brain is. And, where my brain is half the time it's on the range. The rest of the time it's in a coffee cup or a Mountain Dew cup. But anyway, I want to try to do some more humorous streams. I noticed, we did the Rumble streams back around Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. We did Rumble exclusive on the Quora response streams, answering some of the gun idiots' stupid questions. That was funny. That was lighthearted. That was, kind of amusing. We all got to laugh at them. And honestly, laughing at anti-gunners is one of my favorite hobbies. But again, it was a much lighter stream than dealing with active shooter stuff. So yeah, definitely, I want to do some more humorous stuff this year. We may be laughing at Quora streams. I may do them as Rumble exclusive. We'll do maybe laughing at some Twitter posts from the anti-gun groups, because as we all know, some of their logic is totally idiotic. I definitely like doing the new gun reviews. I like exposing people and telling people about new things, different things that are coming out. I know over the next year, we'll be definitely having a lot of guests coming in. I've sent out several invites to guests. We're working on getting a schedule done now. But beyond that, if y'all know someone who you think would be a cool guest, if I can get them, I'll do my best to. Let me know who you think would be a cool guest or who you'd like to bring in as a cool guest. If you want to make a suggestion or something like that, definitely you can do it. Give you an idea, the best way to email me is right there. It's mike.southeastdefense@gmail.com. Or a lot of times, again, on Twix or Twitter or X or whatever the blazes it is this day, at thegunclub.com. I'm going to begin posting that more on the page, in the chat, trying to make it more accessible and available. If you want to have a suggestion, or if you've got some ideas of something you'd like to see, definitely going to work that in there. I want to do more on our series on shotguns. We were going pretty well with that. We had covered a lot of really good material, and I thought it was really useful, got some good feedback on it. Unfortunately, weather and scheduling kind of got to be difficult. We're going to be doing some more, looking at patterning and looking at different range characteristics and ballistics characteristics. Beyond that, I want to get into a series on ballistics. Now, that's going to start probably mid to late April of this year. Now, when we talk about ballistics, the whole core idea of it is really simple. We have this tool in our hand, and we can go buy different projectiles to use or different ammunition, different loads. Is it 114 grain or 147 grain 9mm versus what's the 230 grain out of a 45? How do these things differ? Where does the 5.7 fit in? Where does the 38 fit in? How about barrel length differences, say between a Smith Shield and a full-size Smith, or between a little 380 Ruger pocket rocket versus a larger firearm? Getting into some of the stuff on ballistics, not so much that it's need to know stuff, but it's fun to know stuff. It's fun to do stuff. And For those of y'all who are out there wondering about, well, what grain should I get? 124 grain, 147 grain, 115 grain. Well, when we talk about what grains are and how they work and the differences, how different slugs weigh different amounts, looking at different speeds and velocities, maybe even doing a little quick cheat algebra, doing something with that, with ballistics. Why? Because it will take anything we can do and share knowledge among our community and build up a better knowledge base. I think it'd be fun. I've talked to a couple of other instructors who are down with it. Just to let you know, it will take a few of us because we'll be out on a range. We'll be hooked up with a chrono. We'll be going over, 5 and 6 shot spreads, logging them into Excel, building out spreadsheets and equations. Not that anyone wants to geek out over ballistics, but it could be fun. And the funny thing is, I know another instructor right now who, if he's watching this, he's like, yeah, that actually does sound kind of fun. That would be kind of excellent to do. Because then we can talk about this a little bit more knowledge base about how a 9mm reacts, what the difference between a 124 grain, 147 grain 9mm is. How about 108 grain 9mm? Where does that stack up? Let's take these 5 bullets, 5 ammunition loads out of the same gun. Let's chrono them out. Let's look at how things affect it. So definitely can be interesting to do that with. I'm also going to try to expand our content onto other platforms. Not necessarily, 100%. We're going to try to do some stuff on locals. Our locals channel, you saw it up before. I can pull it up here again. Currently, our locals is 100% free, and it will be staying 100% free until at least June or July. We will always have a free membership available on locals. However, if we do add a paid tier on there, we'll talk about that, and it would have different benefits and bonuses and other things with it. Right now, we've got it there, so we have it. We don't do a lot on it. We're going to try to do more on it. And again, eventually at some point, could I look at making locals a paid content site? Yes, but we'll always have a free tier there. It'll always be for everybody. But I know a lot of the people I've seen, creators who use locals as a channel, they've got it where pretty much anyone can read or watch their content. But in order to respond back, you actually have to, pay, have a little skin in the game, maybe $3, $4, $5 a month. And, that would be reasonable. Could be something like that. We've been looking at getting some articles written, again, talking to people about being guests, talking about being contributors, sort of what we can do as a clubhouse. I know it's a virtual clubhouse, but to have some more fun, to help build the 2A community and give a voice. Now, I'm not going to be something I'm not. I think the greatest example of that is those of y'all who watch Bronca. If you haven't watched Bronca, definitely great to watch. He says straight out, I'm not a firearms lawyer. I'm a use of force lawyer. He's not trying to be something he's not. Then you can get, say, Tom Grieve. He gets into use of force and also a lot of the firearms decisions. You can get into somebody like Brandon and Donut. They don't really try to teach law. They try to do cool stuff with guns and build an AK-50. Sounds like a really cool thing. I'm not a gun builder. I'll do some modifications, and we may talk about some simple mods. I'm not a gunsmith, so really asking me to build a gun right here probably wouldn't work out real well. But as far as going over basic things you can do, simple level stuff, basic maintenance, that kind of stuff, things that we'd show each other typically at a firearms clubhouse or at a range. And as always, I appreciate y'all coming by. I appreciate y'all's suggestions. We're up to 250 followers on the channel on Rumble, and that is just fantastic. I really appreciate that. So far we've been doing really good with that. We're going to try to pimp it out some more, share it out some more. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up, give us a follow, let us know, hey, there's something here. There's a reason why you're doing this. You're not just talking to a wall, because it does kind of feel some days like I'm talking to a wall. The reason I keep looking over here is because just see, if I've got anyone in the chat asking any questions. So far, it's been pretty quiet in the Rumble chat, pretty quiet in the YouTube chat. I've got them running on two screens here. Again, if there's something you'd like to see, let me know. If I can do it, I'll do my best to do it. If it's out of my comfort zone or I can't necessarily come up with a way to do it, I may try to, pass it off to someone else. Again, I'm not going to try to be someone I'm not or something I'm not. We're going to have some fun this year. There's going to be more laughs this year. Last year, like I said, I think it was heard we got a little bit dark. So we're going to have a little bit more fun this year, a few more laughs. I definitely, like I said, I got a lot of positive feedback on the, responding to the core trolls. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that. We'll probably do that as a Rumble exclusive periodically. May even next time include an adult beverage or two in it. I could see sitting here with, margarita or a vodka cran or something like that, or just hell, Jack and Coke, and laughing at core trolls for hours about their ignorance on firearms, because it is. And you never know. You may learn something. Stuff happens. All righty. Well, we've gone about 45 minutes. That's all I've got for tonight. Folks, I appreciate you coming by, stopping by. I see W Daisy Girls here. Anyone else, thank you much for coming by. Appreciate it. Please be smart. Be safe. Bye.